Welcome to the celebration of life of our dear Judy Emerson. We've come here today from places far and near to gather ourselves in memory and in hope, to be in community together. We come to honor, mourn, and celebrate the life of the one we cherished and cherish still. The wheel of life has completed its circle for Judy, and those of us who are left behind gather to say goodbye to her by offering comfort to one another with stories of Judy and how she left her unmistakable mark on this world. Friends and family, imagine your love and all your joyful memories of Judy are colors that you weave into a cord of your mind's eye. And then envision your cord weaving a circle around this room with all the other cords, holding all of our precious memories of Judy and making sacred space around this room. A human life is sacred. It's sacred in its being born, it's sacred in its living, and it is sacred in its dying. May our time together today be filled with memories of a loving mom, a devoted wife, a cherished grandmother, and a dear friend who walked the path with us deeply and touched our hearts. It is clear that our lives take their meaning from interlacing with other lives. When one has ended, those into which it was woven carry on the precious thread of that life, and not our human desiring, but only time, slow-moving, yet sure and steady, will bring comfort to our souls. Our task here and now is to celebrate the many strands of living memory that have been woven into our love for Judy. If you'll open your bulletin, on the inside cover, there's a poem that meant a lot to Judy's family. Feel free to read it aloud with me or silently in your pews. I know that no matter what, you will always be with me. When life separates us, I'll know it's only your soul saying goodbye to your body, but your spirit will be with me always. When I see a bird chirping on a nearby branch, I will know it is you singing to me. And when a butterfly brushes gently by me so freely, I will know it is you assuring me that you are free from pain. When the gentle fragrance of a flower catches my attention, I will know that it is you reminding me to appreciate the small things in life. When the sun shining through my window awakens me, I will feel the warmth of your love. When I hear the rain pitter-patter against my windowsill, I will hear your words of wisdom, and I will remember what you taught me so well, that without rain, trees cannot grow. Without rain, flowers cannot bloom. Without life's challenges, I cannot grow strong. When I look out into the sea, I will think of your endless love for your family. When I think of the mountains, their majesty and magnificence, I will think of your courage for your country. No matter where I am, your spirit will be beside me. For I know that no matter what, you will always be with me. You're invited to join us in a congregational hymn, Just a Closer Walk with Thee. The words will be on the screen, or you can find them in the little black hymnal called The Faith We Sing on page 2158. But thou art strong. We have two scripture passages today that the family chose. Hear these words of comfort from the Gospel of John, chapter 14, verses 1 through 3. Do not let your hearts be troubled. Believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house there are many dwelling places. If it were not so, would I have told you that I go to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again, and I will take you to myself, so that where I am, there you may be also. And our second reading is from the prophet Isaiah, chapter 57, verses 1 through 2. The righteous perish, and no one takes it to heart. The devout are taken away while no one understands. For the righteous are taken away from calamity, and they enter into peace. And those who walk uprightly will rest there. God bless the reading of this word.
Demonstrate what is possible, and that goodness is always a true blessing among us.
On a hill far away stood an old rugged cross, the emblem of suffering and shame. And I love that old cross, where the dearest and best for a world of lost sinners was slain. So I'll cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. Oh, that old rugged cross, so despised by the world, has a wondrous attraction for me. For the dear Lamb of God left his glory above to bear it on dark Calvary. So I'll cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. To the old rugged cross I will ever be true. its shame and reproach gladly bear. Then he'll call me someday to my home far away, where his glory forever I'll share. So I'll cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown.
Judy would love that. And Dave, I heard you say just a minute ago that this picture of Judy is just perfect. And it is. She is stunningly gorgeous. I hope you all have time to walk up after the service and take a look. So we've come to the part of the service, and this is really what Dave wanted to remember Judy. He said, let's skip the eulogy because we know Judy. Let's share stories about her. And let's share things that other people may not know, experiences that you had with Judy, experiences the family had with Judy. And so we're going to open this time up for people to share. We have a microphone that can travel around, and please don't feel intimidated by that. You don't have to have the perfect words to say. If you get choked up, that's okay. We just want this to be a time of coming together as a family to share these stories. So family, I'm going to give you all the first opportunity to share if any of you all are feeling like you want to do that.
It didn't take me long after Judy and I got married to realize that I had a very intelligent woman on my hands. She helped me with all kinds of situations that I ran into at the college, and we got investing in real estate, and she would do all kinds of research so that it didn't allow me to look like the fool that I was. Judy had a phrase that whenever I came home and was all excited about a new piece of real estate or something, her phrase was, "Have you considered all of the options?" And of course she knew that I had not, that I looked at one thing and my vision was pretty limited. So we had bought a piece of property on Bell Road outside of Auburn. We got an engineer friend of ours to split it into 4 equal parcels, and we sold it and made good money at it. And I came home a couple days later and I saw a for sale sign on a piece of property on Grove Street in Rockland, 2 acres. And I came home and I said, "Hey Judy, we can do it like we did on Bell Road." And this wonderful wife of mine said, "Have you considered all of the options?" And of course I said, "There's only one option, and that's to do a 4-way split." She said no. She made a phone call and talked to a lady at the planning department in Rockland. And the lady came over and had dinner with us that night. If you drive down Grove Street in Rockland and you find a street called Timothy Lane, Timothy was a son that was born to our family, but unfortunately did not live very long. So we named the street Timothy Lane. And if you drive down Timothy Lane, you will find the product of Judy's options. Timothy Lane is now a 10-lot subdivision with 10 beautiful homes on it. Much prettier than my 4-way split. So I called her brilliant at times because she thought of things that I had never even considered. But she did have a weird sense of humor too, so I want to tell you that, and then I'll sit down. At the point, at the point where we were, when we wanted to join the internet and we wanted to put an address on, we worked on it together. And my address for my email is cdelov@gmail.com. My name is Charles David Emerson, so that's the CDE. LOV is Judy's idea that I'm a love, but after 56 years of marriage, I still have a couple of issues that I need to deal with. And so she held back the E from love until I was able to deal with those issues. Thank you. Oh, one other thing. August 29th, 1964, I was standing at an altar and this gorgeous woman walked down the aisle and the minister said, "Do you take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband?" And this gorgeous woman up here said yes. That was the best day of my life.
57 years today. Thank you, Dave. Are there other family members who would like to share a story?
I've been a part of this church my entire life. I'm grateful that everybody's here. I've seen people that I haven't seen since I was a kid. My mom and dad brought my sister and I here. Michelle was part of the youth group. I was too shy to be part of the youth group. But after I had my son and came home, my son wanted to be involved in the youth group when he got older, so I decided to be an assistant youth group leader. And when I left the church when I was young, I was Dave and Judy Emerson's daughter. And I didn't want to be Dave and Judy Emerson's daughter, I wanted to be Erin. And everybody said, "Oh, you must be Dave and Judy's daughter." Yeah, my name's Erin, you can call me Erin. Now, I want to let you know I'm Dave and Judy Emerson's daughter, and I couldn't be more proud to say that I am. I hope the online service is working because I'm reading a couple stories. So my mom has a childhood friend in New York, and she wrote me a brief little note for me to read today. This is my mom's neighbor across the street. And when they were little, and she said, Judy was a lifelong friend. We used to sit on Judy's front porch and laugh long and hard about nothing. We went together from kick the can games in our early years to our proms. I have many wonderful memories from my youth with Judy's beautiful soul beside me. Although we did not see each other every year, when we did, it was special. And that her name is Sandy Evenden Struzinski. And that was a lifelong friend of my mom's, who my mom had actually seen recently. The other letter that I have is from my mom's younger sister, my Aunt Terry, who is in Arizona, and she's not able to be here today, and she asked me to read a letter on her behalf. And the first sentence just kills me. It says, Judy was my big sister and my best friend. One of the earliest memories of her is me climbing into bed with her during a thunderstorm at night because I felt safe with her. I always felt safe and comfortable with her, we could talk for hours. The companionship continued throughout our lives. In more recent years, my fondest memories of our sister trips to Florida, San Francisco, Dallas, Santa Cruz, and of course New York, where we grew up. The New York trips were so much fun, especially getting together at Keuka Lake with the Evenden girls who grew up across the street from us. We had so much fun drinking wine, playing cards, laughing over nothing, drinking wine, swimming, going out on the boat, drinking wine, talking about growing up in a small town and drinking more wine. One fairly recent experience that I just heard about, like 3 weeks ago. Mom's last trip that she took to New York, she went with my Aunt Terry, and they stayed at a lake house and they rented a boat. And they had to talk their way out of a ticket. So it's a bunch of gray-haired women on this boat, and they got pulled over by the boat police. They had been drinking wine and beer in the boat, and they made a huge wake too close to the shore, and they got pulled over. But by the time the boat police left, they were laughing just as much as we were. You would think we were a bunch of teenagers the way we were acting. Judy loved being with friends and family and having a good time. I'm going to miss her. I've heard, though, that you should not cry because it's over. You should try to smile because it happened. And I was very lucky that Judy happened to be my sister. So, and then I have my own couple of things to say. So I was married in this church when I was 18. I had a lot to get away from and figured out that was a bad decision. But I came home when my son was 2 years old, and I figured I'd go home. My mom and dad, your parents take care of you. So I got home, my mom gave me 30 days, and she said, go get a job. Go find daycare, go get a job. We're not gonna raise your kid. It's your responsibility. And I was devastated. I'm like, this is my mom. You're supposed to take care of me. You're supposed to take care of my kid. So the doctor I got a job with is sitting here. And I've been with him ever since, and I'm very grateful that you're here. But it's the best thing my mom could ever done for me. She kicked my butt and said, grow up. You're a big girl now. I didn't have this written down, but the Addams family is here, so I have to bring it up. So lifelong friends, the Addams family, Jimmy, Cindy, and Kim and Cindy were Michelle and my age, and Jimmy was the older brother that was always in trouble, always getting into trouble. But my mom they would come stay the night at our house, we'd go stay the night at their house. My mom would always make us a big breakfast. So we had pancake eating contests. Well, Jimmy being in the family, he's the guy, he's gonna eat the most pancakes. So my mom made him dinner plate size pancakes, and he made the 4 girls little pancakes. So we had a chance against you. And my son, Andrew, is serving in the military in North Carolina. His wife, Julie, my daughter-in-law, my 3 granddaughters, Evangeline and Melody, and 3-week-old Scarlett. I know they're watching, and Andrew wanted me to share the memory of when I was working full-time, and my mom did watch him occasionally, that he really struggled with math and algebra, and he said, Mom, he says, Grandma taught me math with M&Ms. And that's how he knows math today, because my mom took the time to think about a way outside of the box to teach somebody how to do math. And when my mom had her first heart attack in her crisis in 1999, the doctors say that she shouldn't have lived, and they don't know how she lived. And about 2 months after the surgery, my mom went back to the doctor to thank him for saving her life. And he said, we don't know how you lived, and my mom brought a picture of her grandkids and said, this is why I'm here. And then she has all these great grandchildren. and she loves them all very, very much. And I was told I had to end with something funny so that no one would cry. So there's all kinds of cookies up in the fellowship hall when we're done. Mom didn't make any of them. Mom didn't make a cookie she didn't burn. So I ended up being the cookie lady in the house, so cookies weren't her gig. And thank you guys, everybody, for being here. It means the world to myself and the family.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Michelle, the older daughter. And I left the church when I was 17, and I haven't been back since. But I'm here today. And I appreciate all of you being here, and she's going to be a really hard act to follow. But Sandy, if you're listening, about a month before Mom passed, she gave me the dress that you made for me. I was about 9 months old, and it's in a picture. And now that picture and that dress are sitting by my fireplace because I'm not sure what to do with them yet. So thank you for that. Thank you for being Mom's friend. A lot of you are Mom's friend, but I want to tell you about my mom. To me, she was an angel. Because it takes a very strong and powerful woman to adopt a child and not know what you're going to get. And she struggled, and I know she did. But I never felt unloved, and I never felt like I didn't belong to her. My whole life, that's what I needed, was to belong to her. And she gave me that. She gave my kids that. When my kids struggled, they knew they could go to Grandma. And I have 3 beautiful grandkids here today that got a chance to spend time with her and meet her and know who she was. I just want you to know how powerful and how strong her love was, that it has carried through generations, and it will keep carrying through generations. She will never go away. She will live on for a very long time. And I just wanted to share that.
Is weird. I don't want to yell. I'm Angela. I'm Dave and Judy's favorite granddaughter because I'm the only. Yes. And so I just have something really short. Took me a while to figure out what to say. There's so many things that I want to say about Grandma, and I just don't know where to start. So first I'm going to start off with strong, loving, caring, kind. These are only a few words that describe who you were. To me, you were my grandma. One of my memories of you that changed my life was when you handed me a stethoscope and placed it on your heart and you told me to listen. I heard the most beautiful sound. Watching you work hard and dedicate so much of yourself to nursing made me the nurse I am today. it was an honor to be able to take care of you during your last days at home. I can only hope, Grandma, that I'll continue to make you proud. My mom told me a story of how I got my name. You looked at me, and then you looked at my mom at the hospital and said, Michelle, she's an angel. The day you took your last breath, you became my angel. So, and I have two beautiful girls, and I can only hope to, share everything that she taught me. And hopefully I'll have a nurse as a daughter. That's it. Oh.
Hi, I'm Robert Ellis, and my mom is Dave's sister. So I'm their nephew, and my mom could not be here today, but she sends her love. And she has so many memories with Aunt Judy, and one she mentioned was going down to Natural Bridges Beach in Santa Cruz, just the two of them. And they just would spend hours down there just talking and laughing, and it meant a lot to her, and she has a lot more. But a story I keep thinking about was, I'd call it the summer of '72. It was a long time ago. And all the Ellis clan and Emerson clan, we all congregated to Granny Gus's farm. And I was about 12 years old. And all the cousins, we had some major cousin bonding going on. And and Uncle Shep tried to put us city folk to work on the farm, and I remember feeding the cows and getting them water, cleaning up things in the barn that humans probably shouldn't be cleaning up. He worked us hard. And I remember picking up hay bales and throwing them on the trailer for him, and thinking we were all strong farmhands. And it wasn't until a couple of years later that I came back to visit, and I tried to pick one up, and I'm like, I couldn't even lift it, or I barely lifted it. And Uncle Shep shared that he was making them really small for us at the time. So I had to go back, and I didn't correct all the people I was bragging about that to. But we, later in the trip, we were about to leave, and Aunt Judy came and asked me if I would fly home to help with Aaron and Michelle. And Dave was going to drive the car back to California. And I said, sure. I go, if it's okay with my mom and dad. And she said, oh, they said stay for the whole summer with them. So I'm like, wait a minute. And so it came to leave. Dave dropped us off in Syracuse, and we took off, and we were late, and we were going to land in Chicago really late, and we had to catch the connector to Sacramento. And I remember Judy looking me in the eye and saying, right as we were landing, we're going to have to run for it. And I go, okay, we had a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old, and she had Aaron, I had Michelle, and all the carry-on, and we just booked it. And going through, it felt like we were going all the way across the Chicago airport, and we got on the flight, and it should have been Judy and I that fell asleep, but Michelle and Aaron were out. And I just remember Judy and I, for hours, just laughed and told stories and talked. And she wanted to know about everything going on in my life. I'll always cherish that time with her. And it just made me think about how God puts angels on this earth. And they live amongst us, and they're here to help us care a little bit more, love a little bit more, pick us up when we're down, and help us be kinder gentler people. And I just feel like Aunt Judy was an angel that lived amongst us, and everybody that knew her, they were better because of it. And I picture her right now with that big infectious smile and a new God-given heart, just beating strong as can be, looking down on everybody here. And I also picture her holding Timothy in her arms, and maybe even Catherine Grace by her side, and wishing everybody all the love and hope and encouragement that she could, but especially her two lovely daughters, Michelle and Aaron, all the grandkids and all the great-grandkids. Most of all, her true love of her life, Uncle Dave. I love you, Aunt Judy.
Are there other family members who would like to share? Okay, well, you can always raise your hand later. Friends, who would like to share a wonderful story about Judy? Okay. Tell them your names.
I'm Diane Pingree. I've known Judy since the 70s when I became her Avon lady. And then she took my route for me when we went on a trip. My husband and I took our kids back east. Bill and I spent a week in New York with Dave and Judy at Judy's folks' house, which was just a wonderful house in Erin, New York, and we had the absolute best time. But while there, I don't know if it was you, Dave, or Judy, and you've got to correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember you telling a story about when you and Judy were dating, and there was a blizzard that came. And so you rushed to Judy's house to see if she was all right. She rushed to your house to see if you were all right. And both of you got stuck at the other parents' houses during this blizzard. So I think at that time, each set of parents got to know just who was going to be in their family forever. But I'll never forget that time in New York with you. It was so much fun.
My name is Scott Olson, and I've been going to this church since the early 70s and known Dave and Judy for, I think, that entire time, and Aaron too. My dad worked with Dave Emerson over at Sierra Community College, and so I have a lot of memories of going into the counseling center and seeing Dave. He's aged some, but his personality and disposition is exactly the same as it was in 1977, just chill all the time and very laid back in style. And Judy is one of those persons that I always remember as being, I think the word angel is probably like the best. It's that sweet as pie person, gentle spirit that never stressed. Maybe she was at home, but I never saw that woman stressed or anxious or upset or irate. She just had a tender, sweet smile that she would meet you with. And how are you, Scott? And the way that she would greet you, it was angelic. So I think that's a good description. I had the privilege of doing some handyman work for Dave and Judy Emerson in just maybe only a few months back. Judy was declining in her health, but she still wanted some things done around the house. And I remember when I showed up at the house in Lincoln there, and she couldn't hear, so we were using, I think, Aaron's iPad and using voice translate, and so she would she would say all these things that she wanted, and she's going around, she goes, and in the bathroom we need some molding over here, and over here in the kitchen we need this done and this painted over here, and in these cabinets, these are all different colors and they need to be all the same, and we need some more lights in here, and over here, and she was just, and after she finished explaining all the things that she wanted, I was like, oh my God, I was part-time handyman, not, I mean, I felt like I could be there for, and so I said, well, let me start with, this project, and I kind of look over at Dave, and it's just so beautiful. Dave says, whatever makes Judy happy. That I remember him saying that Dave didn't care whether there was lights or whether the cabinets were painted or whether the trim was in the bathroom. He could care less. No interest at all, I don't think. But he knew that it would make Judy happy, and if it was going to make Judy happy for those things. And but I was going to say that she was scurrying around and telling me all these things, and I gassed her out. The next, about 10 minutes later, she was back in her chair, and she's like, so she used all the energy. But what a gift it was to be able to spend some time in service to your beautiful wife and to you as well, Dave. I feel really good knowing that I was able to be in service, and those things brought her joy. And so I'm really glad, because she brought a lot of joy to me. So I guess that's my memory.
Yeah, I'm Fred Berryman, and 89 years ago I was born, but this week an event happened that I'm not going to tell a story because I go on and on, but I met Bonnie Torres again, and Judy did it, and something that's special that connects all of us is here. We weren't in all of the family or traveled to New York, and I have snippets of memories of Judy. It was tough being a helper, cleaning out Dave and Judy's barn for one of their grandiose yard sales. No details, I just remember it. But what was special was, and I feel it here today, and those of us, Judy was just part of the connection. I feel. And I think I'm done.
Hi, I'm Kay Berryman. Judy was a great inspiration to our family. I think that Judy was the influence that led my daughter into nursing as a career. Judy was just such a caring person. I served with the Stephen ministry with Judy, and Judy was a Stephen minister for many years. And she taught me a lot. Judy was also a great teacher. She had such patience and such caring. She was a blessing in my life.
Hello, my name is Lisa Node, and I had no idea that Judy was that ill. In fact, I was planning on having a coffee clutch at my house on the patio as soon as it got a little bit cooler. Now, I don't know what people here, if they know what coffee clutch is. Coffee clutch in Germany is something where women are getting together, having coffee and cake, and of course, Kahlua. And so I was planning that, and I told a couple of the girls about it. And so, like I said, as soon as it is getting a little bit cooler for my patio, I was going to have Judy over, and I'm sorry, and Judy just is gone now. I'm sorry.
My name is Sue Ann Gove. I'm a member of this church. Been here 16 years. It's one of the most wonderful churches I've ever been in. I'd like to say, for those of you that came through the front door today to get here, I don't know if you noticed the beautiful banner that's out in front. It says, "Welcome immigrants and refugees." I think it might have been put up for an Easter Sunday, for the very first Sunday. That was put up by Dave and Judy. And every time I come to church and see that banner, I'm thinking how wonderful and how appropriate right now that we have that banner hanging at the entrance to our church. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Judy in heaven. Number two, I like to just say that Judy reminds me of one of the most wonderful people I have ever met in my life. The J of Judy says joyous, and she was very joyous. The U in Judy says understanding. She knew that word very well and practiced it. The D stands for devotion. She was very devoted to her family, spoke often of how much love she had for them and how wonderful you all were. And I think we felt devotion from her also. The last letter, Y, I can't think of anything that goes with that. So I'm going to say she was eager, and I'm going to say she was yeager. She was eager as a Stephen minister to introduce our class to Stephen ministry. She had been doing Stephen ministry for quite a while, as Kay mentioned. And in our meetings, one of the things we did was share with each other the people that we were assigned to visit at least once a week for an hour. But when she shared her sharing, it was not just through her mouth, it was through her whole body. Because through her whole body, you could tell that she was devoted and understanding and very joyous. That was Judy. God bless you in heaven, and I look forward to the day, hopefully I get to go there too and meet you again. God bless you, and thank you, family, for sharing her with us.
Anybody else?
My name is Debbie, and I'm going to attempt to speak, so please bear with me. I haven't known Judy all my life, but it just seems like it. I've had the pleasure of sharing her for a little over 20 years, and she has become such a huge part of my life. There are so many experiences that we shared. A lot of joy, some not so joyous times. But she is such a gift to me from God. She played such a huge part, whether it be the antiquing. Many of you may know that she was half of Vagabond Antiques, with Dave, the yard sales, the peddler's fairs, the estate sales, and the oh so wonderful barn sales that we were fortunate enough to be a part of at the Emerson home. Our conversations were many and long, and at times she would say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm complaining." And I would try to remind her that for me, it was such a gift for her to share her innermost feelings and thoughts. And she will always be a best friend. And she will always be in my heart. And every day she will be with me. I love her now. I have loved her for many years, and I will continue to do so. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Denny, Deb's other half. I just want to say something real quickly about Judy's sense of humor. It was about 7 years ago or so that Dave and Judy invited us to join them for a week or so back in New York, in upstate New York. So we made the arrangements, flew into the small regional airport that's close to Horseheads, and got in there in the evening. There weren't too many people around or anything. So we got past the security area on our way to get our baggage, looking around for Judy and Dave. They weren't around. So we kept on going and got closer to the baggage area. We started to think, gee, was there some miscommunication? Were they expecting us today or tomorrow? And as we were walking, we passed by a lady, tattered clothes, sitting on the side, and I thought, well, that's kind of strange. And I also thought, let's not make eye contact. We just kept on walking. And then we had to go around the corner, and here comes a gentleman with a wig on, long blue hair, tattered clothes again, and he was walking towards us, muttering something. I thought, what kind of airport is this? Anyway, by that time, this lady, tattered clothes, was walking behind us, and well, it turned out to be Judy and Dave. I mean, it caught us totally off guard, and I thought, okay, that's our welcome to upstate New York. I think we're going to have a good time here.
Thank you. Yeah. Hi, I'm Wendy Aiello. I first met Judy. We did an early morning book study with Jackie Courtwright. For years and years we did that. And that's how I really got to know her. But I have one fun memory of her so we were invited to this pork dinner every year around Christmas time. And I was always asked to bring this red cabbage dish, which really only tasted good with that pork, really. I mean, I would never have made it otherwise. Anyway, I couldn't go one year, and so Judy was asked to make it, and she made it. She never let me forget how disgusting it was. And that I'd given her that recipe. Back in February and March, I was pretty ill and in the hospital, and I got a nice mountain of cards from people. And gosh, a few days after she passed, which absolutely tore me up, I went through the cards, and there was one from Judy, and she'd written, and I know how sick she was and how hard it was for her to write at that point, a whole page of encouragement to me. She will not be forgotten. She was a really lovely friend. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jackie Courtright, and I'm going to tag on a bit of what Wendy said. And that, as you know, or many of you know, my husband was sick for many years. And we also got lovely cards from people in this community. But I was always taken back by Judy's notes to us, because she knew we knew her family, but she would write several pages of just this newsy, what everybody was doing, just what she was thinking. And I thought, oh my gosh, this was so generous, because, you know, with long illnesses, you kind of get isolated from the community. And here she kept us, you know, connected. And I was just always very grateful for the long, newsy, just, you know, as if it were yesterday we saw her. So thank you to the Emerson family for including all of us in this celebration.
Anybody else?
Hi, my name's Patty Woolsey, and I just had to say that Judy was my soulmate in optimism. She was just an incredibly positive woman, and we wore our rose-colored glasses proudly, even though we were made fun, sometimes being positive over negative things. And yeah, she was connectional, she cared, she listened, and we're all gonna miss her.
So my name's Debbie Rosnovac. Kruger was my maiden name. I grew up with Dave and Judy and Michelle and Aaron. Just, my mom passed away recently. I got a whole bunch of pictures, and I'm going through the pictures, and I've got so many pictures of Dave and Judy, but I don't have any pictures of just Judy or just Dave. They're always together. And some of my earliest memories are of Judy and Bonnie and my mom and the kids. We were playing, and they would come and hang out at our house, and it just seemed like we were always together when we were little. But as we grew older, I worked in the counseling center. I had an opportunity to work there for a couple of years with a couple of you, and Judy worked right next door in the career center. And honestly, I think it's Judy's influence that encouraged me to go on to college, finish it, get a degree, and eventually I moved on from there. I don't think I would be where I'm at in my life without Judy's patience and wisdom. We just spent a lot of time talking during the quiet hours in the counseling center, and it was really encouraging. She's had so much wisdom, and I appreciate all that she did.
Hello, my name is Cynthia McGowan. I was a neighbor of Judy and Dave's. When I was going through hard times, my sister gave me a book called Jesus Always. When Judy was going through her hard times, I bought her that book, and we shared passages through that. Judy was an amazing neighbor. I miss the times that we would sit and drink coffee together and sit out on the porch and drink wine. And every day I kept waiting for COVID to end so that we could continue our time together, but it never came. And I was heartbroken the day she died, because I knew we were never going to have those days on the porch anymore to drink wine and drink coffee and share stories. She was an amazing woman, amazing wife, amazing mother, amazing grandmother, amazing neighbor. She was one of a kind, one of the most beautiful women I've ever known.
Yeah, just one more thing. I didn't tell you that Bonnie called my cell phone day before yesterday, and I had never gotten a phone call ever in my life before from Bonnie. So something special was happening, and that was what I wasn't able to say.
I thought of something that I didn't say that I know my friend is waiting for me to say. My very best childhood friend, her name is Sandy. She lives in Florida now. Her husband's in the Navy. And she met her husband, I think, about 8 years ago. They've been married about 6 or so. And she called me and asked if she could have my mom and dad's phone number. And she wanted to call my mom and dad. She'd been in a difficult marriage. She had a very difficult childhood in a challenging family. So my family was where she came. She was with us when she went to Canada with us when we went to the World's Fair. She was at our house, I think, more than she was home because she needed some place to go. She needed a safe, happy place, and my mom provided that for her. And so when she called me, when she was getting married, she wanted a letter. She said, "Erin, do you think your mom would write me a letter?" I said, "Well, I'll write you a letter." She said, "No." She said, "Your parents' marriage is all I've ever wanted as a woman. I had a hard one. I have a good guy now." And my mom wrote her this very long letter, I'm sure with my dad's help, saying, "How do you make it 50 years, 56 years? What does it take from me? What does it take from him?" And she wanted to read it at her wedding, and she did. And she lived in Virginia at the time. I didn't go. I've talked to her. Hi, Sandy. And she's going to find that letter, and she's going to give me a copy of it, because I want to make sure my marriage to Scott is as great as yours and Mom's. And the last thing I wanted to say was, Judy's my mom. She's my mom. She's not my friend. She's not a teacher. She's not anything else. And my mind has been opened tremendous. I am 50 years old. You think I would know this by now? My mom's a friend to you guys. My mom was a teacher, an encourager, a support person, a role model, an angel, a mom, a grandma, a niece, an aunt, you name it, a sister. She's all of that. I thought she was just my mom. And I thought I had the luckiest woman on the earth because I had this for a mom. And she's so much more. And you guys have opened my eyes to realize that my mom just wasn't here for me. I thought she was. Not really that way, I can't word it right, but I realize now how many lives she touched, and I didn't really have any clue. You guys are extremely lucky people to have been touched even one time by my mom. So thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have a time limit?
No, it's your time, Dave. It's however much you want to take. You go right ahead.
I'll try not to bore you like I did before. My name is David. I worked for 30 years at Sierra College as a member of the counseling staff. And first thing I want to say is thank you, taxpayers of California, because that's what keeps Sierra College open. My contract with the college as a counselor was to take anybody who came through the door with a problem who needed resolution or something like that. I ended up probably with more than 50% of my clientele were marriage problems. And they would tell me tales that I have never read in any book. So they must have made them up or something like that, because some of them were saying, I'm trying to keep my marriage alive, but my wife doesn't want to, or I'm trying to keep my marriage alive, but my husband is running around with other women. I had one case where the young man had his wife kick him out of the house because he admitted to having sex with another woman, but it was his wife's best friend, so it was okay. So probably after the first 30 days of encountering that unimaginable destruction of relationships, I would go home and I would wrap my arms around that woman and I would say thank you, because she put up with me for almost 57 years, and she's a marvelous woman.
Thank you, Dave. Does anybody else have, Diane?
I'm Diane again. I didn't mention that when Judy had her heart attack, it's been 20 some years ago, not long after that my husband had one. And those two got so close over this whole thing. In fact, Dave and Judy brought over a bed for when he came home from the hospital, etc. But they would be talking about their, well, how are you feeling? And, they got really close. And I lost my husband 2.5 years ago, not to heart, but to cancer. And I just feel really good knowing that they are reunited and saying, well, what happened to you, so.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, what a great idea by you, Dave, for this moment of sharing. Like Erin was saying, now we each know. We don't know what kind of wife and mother, what it was like in those roles, and here are her friends adoring her. So what a wonderful idea for us to share and truly celebrate all that Judy was. And I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I need an invitation to New York. How about y'all? So, yeah, I'm sure it is. Thank you all for sharing. Thank you so much. Judy, you've been called from the place of your dwelling. After times, after duties, after separations. May blessed soul friends guide you. May helping spirits lead you. May the gatherer of souls call you. May the homeward path rise up under your feet and lead you gladly home. Loving Creator, we give thanks for your servant Judy. Hold us close as we walk through these darker times, that we may again know and feel the joy that Judy brought to all of us. Thank you for the interconnectedness of all of creation to you. In Christ's name, amen. Dave and Michelle and Aaron would like to invite all of you up to the fellowship hall for a reception. If you go out the front doors, or you can head out this door here, you're going to go up this way, up the stairs, and it's to the building on your right. So with that, we are adjourned. We would love to share more stories with you in the fellowship hall. Thank you for being here.